Pattaya 105 Property Show, sponsored by Compass Real Estate.
It's Friday, it's 105, and we're down here in Pattaya, Thailand. Welcome to the show, guys, and thanks to all you people on the internet and around the world for joining us live on 105 for the Property Show. Every Friday down here, we're bringing you some of the biggest and best prices from around Pattaya and Thailand. And in the studio, Mr. Lawrence Knowles is here again. Welcome, Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Dave D.
How are you, sir?
Very well, as always.
How has your week been?
Busy.
Be as anything.
Oh, yeah.
And
no
also,
rest for the wicked.
No rest for the wicked. You just imagine you can get that big house if you always wanted to now, yeah? And, of course, in the studio we have Harry.
Hello, Dave.
Who is you? Do you want to introduce him, Lawrence?
Yeah. Today we've got Harry Warner down here from the Pattaya Condo Guide, which I think a lot of people here will be familiar with. It's... it's one of the main publications here featuring condominiums, telling people about condominiums, what's going on with new developments, very widely distributed and very easy to access and very well known. So it's a great source of information, Dave.
Nice to have you. Nice to have you in here, Harry. Nice to join us on 105. You're welcome. Okay, I want you to explain to me because I'm talking as Mr. I don't know. And of course, what is the Pattaya Condo Guide? What is it?
Well, Pattaya Condo Guide is basically a one-stop shop for anybody locally or internationally who's looking for Pattaya condos, basically.
And you just deal in condos at the moment, yeah?
Yeah.
No houses, just basically condos.
And it's only Pattaya and Jontian.
Okay, so you tell me, Harry. I mean, we like to talk sort of turkey on this show, and Lawrence will tell you that we don't sort of bite any bits here. I mean, what makes you different?
Well, first of all, we are possibly the biggest real estate site on the internet. We have over 10,000 condos on the site, over 250 condo developments listed in our directory, and we work closely with a lot of the local well-known agents as well. So,
and of course, I think that one of the key differences for me, Dave, is people who are looking first time at the condo market here, they can go to one site and straight away see 10,000 different properties. Bang, you've got 10,000 different properties to choose from. Okay. And the way they actually can use the site as well, it might sound a bit daunting, 10,000 properties, but it's a very simple.
But I would imagine, Harry, you've got a search engine on there. Of course.
I mean, we've tried to make it as user friendly as possible. We've made it as simple as possible for the users. There's various different ways that they can search. They can search by map. We have a map on there with drop-down lists for condos for rent or condos for sale in that particular area. People can fine-tune the search with price per square metre on a sliding bar.
I think the easier it is, though, Harry. I mean, when you said to me, straight away as a person who would look on a site, and I agree with you, it's a great site, and you've got 10,000 condos on there. I think the easier you can make it, I mean, you probably agree on this, Lawrence. Yeah. The easier you can make it to sort of search for what you want, the people will stay on and they will look. But some people, of course, the average person, where these people tend to sort of swamp the website, find it daunting. And now also, I've been reading here, Harry, it's not just in English, is it?
No, we have 14 different languages as well.
Which is excellent.
Yeah, and they're all on subdomains, which means, the people in Japan, for example, if they search in Japanese language for condos in Pattaya, they will land on the Japanese version of the site.
Which I agree, Lawrence. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant, isn't it? Because, I mean, if somebody can sort of cater for the Japanese or where Norwegian, Swedish, whatever, and it's in their language, I mean, it's straight again, you're making it very easy for them.
Oh, well, exactly. And I mean, people... we've got to realise that a lot of people who are searching for property here, foreigners, are searching overseas. And, when they're typing into their search engines, having the website in different languages is key to actually getting that website up there, getting people on the site and getting people to have a look at it. And that's why pretty much all the top agents and developers here actually use the Pattaya Condo Guide to list their properties.
I think it's very good. What kind of sort of visitors do you get, Harry? I mean, what's the sort of average?
We get quite a lot of variety of different visitors. I think monthly, on average, we get over 120 different countries using the Condo Guide. Okay. So, people can look on there. If you've got a condo yourself, Dave, and you're thinking about selling it, you're not sure how much, you can go on there, have a look at similar units.
And that'll sort of give you a guideline on where to price your condos.
It's a great place to actually start your search. You can get an understanding of the different prices in the different areas. And, when you're actually looking through the Condo Guide, you'll see condos that are listed on there from different developers, from different agents. So it's not... What you got to realise is the Condo Guide isn't trying to sell you a condo. It's advertising on behalf of people who are. So it's a very much an unbiased site. You know, they're not trying to lead you into
So this is not a site that you're actually selling from. You're providing a service for all the people.
Commissions. We sell advertising space to the agents.
Right.
We're the connection between the buyers and the sellers.
So you're not biased, are you? You don't pick and choose who can go. You know, you're saying, okay, we've got this facility, get yourselves on here, and of course you make your money from the advertisers that are on there. That's a pretty good one. Have you seen an increase of, for example, from last year? You know, was an increase in the people visiting?
We've always been increasing, Dave, since day one. In the first year, we had over 120,000 visitors.
Okay.
And in the 3 months after, from October to January, we had 52% of that same figure. So in the next 3 months, we had half of the previous year.
Okay, so Mr. Joe Mann is sitting in Norway now. He's sitting there and he's going, I like what you're saying, Harry. How can he access you?
Well, any kind of condo search via Google will reveal Pattaya Condo Guide on first page.
Okay, so you're coming up in the top
in the ranks. Yeah,
in the ranks.
We are pretty much dominating Google as far as condo searches in Pattaya goes.
Good thing, Lawrence. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Totally. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with the. You know, they're not selling you. They're providing a service.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is an important role that's maybe overlooked. Obviously, you know, it is very important that you used an agent here. You know, an agent is there to work on your behalf, look after your interests when you're buying a property. This is, you know, a property portal that's kind of putting that first contact customer in touch with their agent. And you know, this portal lets customers go onto the site, look at a wide range of properties from different developers, different agents, look at different areas, and really gives them a point to start off with and gain a sort of greater understanding of the market. And there's also lots of useful information on the site. It's not just property.
So it is literally, Harry, your one-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly that. And people can look at it in the comfort of their own home. You know, they're not pressured by any agents or developers who are trying to sell to them.
They can go at their own leisure and their own pace. All right, guys, stay with us. Okay, Harry and Lawrence in the studio on the Property Show. Going to come back with those and find out what kind of things they have on the website and much, much more. This is 105.
The Pattaya 105 Property Show, sponsored by Compass Real Estate.
Thanks, guys, for all your emails. Coming up, all the emails shortly after the news, but in the studio we have Lawrence and Harry all the way down here from Pattaya City, Thailand. It's getting hot, and of course all your questions and answers coming up right after this. But first, we're going to go back to Harry from Pattaya Condo Guide. Welcome back, Harry.
Hello, Dave.
Hello there. Hello there, Dave. He's got a good voice, hasn't he, Lawrence? Hello there, Dave. Hey, just for radio. He's got the face for radio, hasn't he? Right, okay. Harry, what sort of stuff do you have on the website is one of the questions that we've had coming in.
Well, first of all, we mentioned earlier about the amount of condos we've got on there, 10,000 units.
Okay.
But what we also have is we have a directory of agents that list with us. So if you're an agent and you list on the site, you get your own page about you. You know, with links to your properties, etc. We also have a massive directory of condo developments with over 250 buildings in there that features, you know, photographs, information about the development, videos in there.
And this is what developments that are coming up, is it, or
this is everything that's existing. It's split into 3 categories.
Okay.
We have under construction condos.
Right.
We have recently complete, which comes into the bracket of 2 years.
Okay.
So if it's been completed within the last 2 years, it's in that bracket.
Okay.
And then we have everything else after that as well.
Okay.
So
good. I'll sort of agree with that one, Lawrence. That seems pretty straightforward to me.
I think, like we were saying before, you know, it's a good place to actually start your search if you're sort of new to Pattaya and new to the condo market here. You know, you can go on the site, you can look at 250 different actual condo developments here. You know, look at new ones that are coming up, look at ones that have just been completed, and look at existing ones. So you can sort of really, you know, gain an understanding of what's actually here on the ground, and then, you know, you can take it from there by sort of going and looking what agents are here. You know, they've got an agent section. You know, you can look through some of the existing properties on there, and then, you know, you can sort of take it to the next step by contacting an agent and take it from there. So it's just a great place to start, you know, get an understanding of what's on offer here.
What about sort of videos and 360s? I mean, they seem to be coming into play more these days. Like, people seem to do a lot of this is what we've got by video, and also, of course, the new one, the 360 degrees. Are you into that, Harry?
We've got those on there. I mean, a lot of the developments, the older developments, we haven't got that information for, but certainly 90% of the under construction or recent complete, then they have video features.
I think it's definitely a good thing, and I think it gives the buyer or the potential buyer a really good aspect on that, and this is how it looks.
It's always nicer to be able to see it, to see it in action. If you're back home in Norway, for example, you can see the video.
So I would imagine you have floor plans, of course. I mean, everybody sort of has the floor plan. Atlantis and people like that, they all have floor plans, and of course all the brochures and that, of course.
Yeah, and it's free for the developers as well. This is, this is informative. We want to give this information to the people who want to look for it. So we don't charge developers to put their condos on there.
Okay. Like it, I like the sort of concept of it. I like the Pattaya Condo Guide. I like the concept. Well, what sort of people are you drawing in, Harry? I mean, what sort of people are using the website and the magazine site? I mean, what kind of are coming in?
Well, I mean, basically everyone. I mentioned earlier about monthly. We have around 120 plus countries using it. A lot of Bangkokians use the site. I mean,
do you think that's gone up since we had? I know we spoke about, me and Lawrence. We spoke about the floods before, and that brought a lot of people down from Bangkok who hadn't been here before.
Yeah,
do you think that has increased?
Yeah, we doubled during that first week of people excavating Bangkok. We saw our figures double.
Wow!
So just goes to show that when people actually need to find a quick solution, they're using the Condo Guide.
So what about the people that are here in Pattaya, Harry? What about those guys?
We have two magazines published monthly. One of them is a Russian version and an English version as well. Again, similar concept to the website. It's classified listings. It's neatly organised into location and price. So if you're looking for a specific location with specific price, you can easily find that in the magazine.
So, for instance, I could put in East Pattaya between 10 and 20,000 and all that, and sort of refine the search.
Yeah, and it will show you all of those in that.
Sounds good to me, Lawrence. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the magazine is very accessible. It's very much one of those you can pick up. It's not overloaded with information. It's not overwhelming you. You can sort of flick through, see a couple of new developments in there, and there's sort of separate pages. Each agent might have their own page in there, and they might list 5, 10 properties on that page.
Yep.
And quite often, it tends to be the better properties that they actually have listed at the time. They're the ones they're going to actually spend their advertising on. So it's a very good way to actually see, some of the better ones that are available at the time. Have a little flick through. I mean, it's not going to show you everything.
No.
And quite a lot of agents might, be holding back a few properties for different customers, and if you go and speak to them direct, you might get offered different properties.
Okay, guys. Sorry, Lawrence. What we're going to do is we're going to just quickly wrap it up because we've got the international news on the way, and the guys are at the end of the microphone over there in Germany, ready to go on the news. So we're just going to wrap it up and not keep them guys waiting. But for you, Harry, I mean, Pattaya Condo Guide. I mean, what sort of future plans do you have?
Well, in the short term, we've made a couple of adjustments to the way that inquiries are sent to agents.
Okay.
Because we have a lot of short-term inquiries on there. We've separated those from the long-term inquiries, and then obviously we have the sales as well. So they're now in all different coloured formats in the email, so the agents can categorise them easily. We have plans for a house guide. We've had a lot of demand for a house guide.
I was going to be one of my questions to you. I mean, the Pattaya Condo Guide, you seem to have got it sewn up. It seems to be like the dogs, if that's what you want to say, in where you can see all the stuff. Okay, but of course, if it was me personally, I'd like to see houses.
Yeah, well, we've had a very few people say that as well. Quite a few people say that. So we're currently working on that now, and we're expecting to launch that maybe in the next month or so.
And will that be for sales and rentals, Harry?
It will be the same concept as a Condo Guide. It's sister company, so it will be along the same classified listings kind of style.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, thanks, Dave. It's Friday, Lawrence. You should be a bit more happy than that. It's Friday. You can think to yourself, tonight I'm going out, I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, and then I'll be working again tomorrow.
Okay, all right. And in that case, hello, Lawrence. Right, okay, let's set about it. Let's get to it. We've had lots of emails from the customers. We had lots of emails from the listeners. We're going to start off with this one from Jan Olav. He says, basically, if you want to both sort of have a listen to this one and then sort of jump in where you can, guys, to answer me. He says, I was renting a house from a private landlord. When I had my parents come to stay as they were visiting me on holiday, the landlord informed me that if I had to pay double rent if I had guests, as it was written in the contract. I hadn't checked the contract and the contract properly. What should I do?
First of all, have a good read of the contract.
I'll probably agree with Harry there. Yes, straight away. So,
it's a difficult one really, because if it's in the contract, then she's got to abide by what it says in the contract. You know, if it says in the contract, if you have a guest to stay, you have to pay double rent. Well, then that's what you've signed for. I think, like Harry says, the key here is she should have read the contract properly first. And I know that's not going to be a lot of help to her now.
Try and speak to the landlord. If it's privately rented, there must be some kind of personal. It's not going through an agency, So
let me get this right.
This Dave, this is the problem right here. She's not used an agent in the first place, and the agent's job is to look out for the customer, and they will be the one who makes the contract. In this case, she's gone directly to a landlord. I don't know how she's found this property, right? Whether it's someone she knows or a friend of a friend. But the landlord's prepared the contract, and they've obviously prepared it very much in the landlord's favour.
Well, absolutely. I mean, have you heard, guys? Have you heard of this before, where people have sort of put a clause in it where if you have any guests to stay, they've got to pay?
It's definitely not something I've heard of before.
Never heard about it for guests staying with you, but you do have that subletting rule, don't you? Where you can't.
Well, the subletting I can understand, Larry, and I'll go along with you on that one. If somebody rents your house, you can't sublet it. Yeah, I understand that. But personally, I've never heard of.
I think this is definitely the landlord pulling a bit of a fast one here. He's inserted a clause.
But he's quite entitled to do that.
He's quite entitled to do that. Like Harry said, he's quite entitled to do that. If she's signed the contract, and in that contract it says that basically she's agreed to pay double if she has any guests staying with her. I mean, there's not a lot she can do, is there?
Well, exactly. If you sign a contract that says, right, if I have a dog in my house, I have to pay 10,000 baht extra rent per month. You've signed the contract to that effect. You've agreed to pay that extra rent. So if she's signed for this contract and it's a legally binding contract, then if she doesn't pay that extra rent and she does have guests to stay, then she is in breach of contract.
If she doesn't pay?
Yeah, if she doesn't pay if it says in the contract you have to pay 2 times as much rent if you have guests to stay in the property. I don't know what the exact wording is. Well, that's what she has to do essentially. I mean, what she could do is look very carefully what the wording actually is. Does it say have guests staying overnight? Does it say have guests visiting?
Because
of course,
misunderstanding the subletting. Maybe it was about the subletting.
Yeah, I mean, what does the actual, maybe she can send us another email and let us know what the actual wording in the contract actually says. I mean, it's something, if she really wants to be serious about it, she could go and speak to a lawyer about it, and a lawyer could advise what the actual wording in the contract actually means in practice, because,
so I would imagine by the way we're talking, guys, is this contract must have been done in Thai.
Well,
or the person signing the contract just hasn't paid enough attention to it. I mean, if this kind of clause is in the contract, there must be details on how can we define if you have had guests staying in your house. Is it someone around for dinner? Have they stayed past 12 o'clock? What's the terms?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it brings us to a good point. You mentioned there, was it written in Thai? Because if this contract were to go to court, it would be the Thai, even if it's written in English, it would be the Thai translation that would prevail in court.
Okay.
So, it kind of brings us to a question that we do get asked a lot, is an English contract valid under Thai law? And the answer is that yes, it is valid, but only the Thai translation. When you take that document to court, it will be translated to Thai, and it's the Thai translation that will prevail, which will not always be exactly the same as the meaning of the English translation.
So I think one thing that us guys in the studio, Lawrence and Harry and myself, all totally agree on is when you're signing contracts and you're just about to get into contracts, read it and also consult a lawyer. Really, I mean that's you don't have to. I
don't think it's really necessary to consult a lawyer, Dave. This is the agent's job. This is what the agent gets paid for. The agent gets paid to make up a contract.
Well, this is what I was saying. This is why you should use an agent.
Yeah, exactly. The agent's there to protect your interests, and whether you be the person letting the property or whether you be the person renting the property, the agent will draw up a fair contract,
and it's not biased.
Yeah, which is not biased, which is fair to both parties. The agent is working for both parties at the end of the day, and so he will make a contract that's fair on both parties, not one where it says, okay, if you have someone to stay, you have to pay twice as much. And maybe would want that in the contract, but it would be the agent's responsibility to make sure that the actual person renting understood that.
Do you on Pattaya Condo Guide, Harry? Do you answer questions yourself from the Pattaya Condo, or do you pass it on to the people that are dealing with it?
Recently, we launched a questions board where people can send in questions to us. You know, we get quite a few, and we print one of those in the magazine every month.
Right.
But what we do with those questions is we'll forward them to various professionals. You know, if it's about contracts, we might send that to a lawyer.
Right.
You know, we might send it to an agent, for example, to get their opinion on the matter as well.
So you have got a facility on the Pattaya Condo Guide where people can ask you questions.
People can send questions to questions@pattayacondoguide.com.
Right. Okay. Right, well, we can give all that out at the end, and it's not a problem. Okay, guys, we're gonna come back, and we've got quite a few things to talk about today, and we've got quite a few emails. Okay, so stay with us, guys, and of course, being a radio station, we're going to play some music as well for all the guys that listen out there. Stay with us.
The Pattaya 105 Property Show, sponsored by Compass Real Estate.
Just taking us to 10 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock, and Lawrence and Harry in the studio live. Welcome back, guys, to the show.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, we're going to start off with you, Lawrence. Well, what it is, I just want to go straight into this one because during the break we had a bit of an email from a couple of guys, from Brian, Terry and Simon. Okay, this is what they're sort of asking between them, sort of the same-ish. It says, what are the common things to look out for when renting, you know, on a rental contract?
Well, yeah, they're obviously picking up on the last question there. I mean, there's lots of things obviously you should look for on a rental contract, and I think the key here as well is that, you know, if you're using an agent, you know, an agent will usually draw up the contract, let you have a look at it, and sort of ask you if there's anything you don't understand on the contract, if there's anything you need to be made clear on the contract. So if you're using an agent should be running through the contract with you. I think the trouble with, you know, the email we had with this problem with the landlord charging 2 times the rent is that they've obviously gone direct to a landlord. The landlord's, you know, written up the contracts on his terms, you know, so it's obviously going to be in his favour, and then this person sort of signed it without really having a good look at it.
Sounds as though they sort of jumped in at the deep end. I mean, one of the things, Harry, if you agree with what I'm saying here, if you want to jump in on it, is I would imagine that the start date and the end date is absolutely correct.
Yeah, well, that's one of the first things you're going to look at, obviously, along with the price and what you're going to be paying for it, security deposits and stuff like that, you know.
What about IDs and things like that?
Well, I think just coming back to the price there, you know, the price on the contract, I mean, some people who might not have rented here before, for instance, might assume that, you know, the water and electric is included. So you should check very carefully what you're actually paying for. You know, you're paying, because some landlords will include the electric and the water in the price, but some, you know, the utilities will be separate. So that'll be the TV, you know, the internet, the water, the electric. Some of these services might be included. You know, the landlord might have already paid the TV for the year. The landlord might have already paid the internet access for the year.
So double check it.
Yeah, so check exactly what utilities you're paying for. Check what has already been paid. You know, so just so you know what you're actually spending.
So I'm a happy bunny. I've found my house and I've got my contract and it's got the start date, the end date, and I've agreed a figure of 10,000 baht a month, for example. Now I've got to pay a security deposit. Okay, guys. Yeah. So I'm coming to you guys and I'm going to pay you a security deposit. I mean, you know, guys, who holds that deposit?
Right. Well, this again is negotiable. Typically, the landlord will hold the security deposit, but it could be the agent holding the security deposit on behalf of the landlord. The security deposit is there for the landlord. Let's you know, be clear about this. This is there so that if you breach the contract, they have a deposit. So if you decide
damages to properties, etc.
Yeah. So it's here as well. So that if you make any damages, so when you actually check out of the property, if you've broken the fridge, etc., you know, that money is going to be taken out of your security deposit.
Would you agree, Harry, that if you're moving into a rental property, that it's probably wise to take some pictures?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, most agents will do an inventory list of the property first out. It's always advisable to either be there when it's being done or to check over it yourself and take pictures. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the modern age now, Dave, you know, it's very simple for an agent to take a camera down to a property when they're actually doing the inventory, when they're checking you in. And, you know, even the little things like maybe a mark on a table, you know, they can take a picture of that. And then it's keeping the person who's renting, you know, it's helping both parties. You know, we know this was the condition of this table. So if the landlord comes back later and says, well, look, you've scuffed my table, it's a very expensive table, you've got to pay for a new one. Well, no, here's the picture which shows it was already scuffed when we moved in.
Okay, so basically, so
a photographic inventory is what a lot of agents.
So what we're saying, guys, is basically cover your own back as well.
Exactly,
100%. Okay,
you know, and if the agent isn't doing that, that's something you can do as well. As long as, you know, you can't be taking. It's got to be done beforehand. There's no point taking pictures
halfway through,
3 months down the line, because then who's to say when you've taken the picture?
So what about, guys, I mean, any of you can jump in here, regarding the landlord's maintenance and responsibilities. I mean, you know, where does that come in? I mean, is that in the contract area? I mean, for what he's responsible for, would you think?
Well, I think a lot of agents do like a management service, you know, where a lot of landlords don't really want a lot to do with it. You know, there's a lot of investors in town that buy 10, 20, 100 properties and rent them out, you know, so those kind of investors will have an agreement with the agency. The agency will then take care and maintain.
So they would have like a maintenance company to take care.
Maintenance agreement. Yeah.
Okay, so what about Lawrence? What about the landlord on his own?
Well, you know, to protect both parties, there'll usually be a clause in the contract which says what the landlord is responsible for maintaining, and what, you know, generally. Most contracts, you know, the landlord is responsible for maintaining all the working items in the property. You know, the electrical goods, the kitchen, that sort of thing. You know, that's what you're paying your rent for, to rent what is there when you get there. So it'll be the landlord's responsibility to check those items are working before you move in and maintain them. But most contracts will state that, you know, the general wear and tear upkeep of the property is the actual person's letting it.
Well, we had an email from Jean, and she basically is asking you guys a question, and that is the landlord, is he responsible for all insurances?
No. The landlord is responsible for the insurance for his interests, and you're responsible for the insurance for your interests.
So basically, if you're taking stuff into the house,
your property,
you've got to make sure that's insured.
Yeah. He's responsible for the insurance on the actual building, the property, the condominium. So, you know, if there's a fire, etc., you know, he's got to cover his own back. But again, the actual contents inside there, the landlord hasn't taken out insurance for your contents. He's taken out insurance for his building and possibly his contents. So if you're bringing a lot of expensive goods into there, you'll want to look at taking out your own insurance.
So, but we're just about clear. So if you're bringing, if I'm right here, Ira, as well, if you want to jump in. So let me make this clear to you guys. If I'm moving into a house and I'm taking my expensive plasma in and all my bits into the house, his insurance doesn't cover me.
That's right.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And what about access for viewing? I mean, if you know, for viewings, I mean, you know, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, this is a common sort of point that does come up. You know, obviously, landlords who are looking to rent their property, it might be on, you know, a 3 month, 6 month, 1 year term, and they obviously will be looking at new prospective customers to rent after that. So most contracts will have a clause in the contract to allow the landlord to arrange a viewing of the property for a prospective customer, and you know, that might be for another rental, or it might be even to sell the property. So usually there'll be a clause which sort of says, you know, as long as I give the tenant 24 hours notice, I will have the right to view the property, which I think is fair enough. But again, if this clause isn't included in your contract, then really the landlord won't have the right to actually view it. So if you're looking to rent your property, this is and you know, you're looking at other potential customers perhaps to rent or sell, then you'll want to make sure you get this clause into your contract.
What about wear and tear? You know, I mean, you know, like, for example, you know, like if the handle comes off the tap and it's wear and tear, and I mean, we're responsible for that, surely.
Well, yeah, again, it's you know, every contract is different.
Right.
You know, it depends what you've laid out in the contract. But general wear and tear you will be responsible for. You know, but then again, as Harry mentioned, a lot of agencies will charge a management fee to the landlord, which is also an added bonus to the actual person letting the property. because then the agency will be responsible for the full maintenance of the property. If there's any problems, it'll be the agent who deals with it. So you get a slightly more professional service.
Okay, all right, and we've just got one to clear up before we go into this quick break, and it's for Harry. We got one from Ian, and he says, Harry, earlier on in the show, you said something about 2.7. I mean, can you just clarify what that 2.7 was, Harry?
That 2.7 was actually supposed to be 2.7 million, and that's the amount of pages that we have listed in the Google search engine, which gives us 2.7 million chances of being in your results.
Okay, so you got 2.7 million pages over Google, spread over Google, and it gives you a chance to be in most people's search results.
That's right.
Okay, so there you go. We've answered this question.
One thing I just want to come back to on the contract, Dave, which again is, part of the agent's job to make sure this is correct. But, perhaps if people are going direct to landlords, this is definitely something they'll want to check. Make sure, A, that the name on the contract matches the name of the ID card. You should always get a copy of the ID card of the person you're renting from or letting to. Okay. To make sure.
Makes sense,
it's not a legal contract unless it's the right name on the contract.
Yeah, sure.
That's one major thing people should look out for. And if you're renting from a landlord, you should also check that their name is on the Shino. Because, scams can happen, and how do you know you are actually renting from the person who owns it?
That actually owns
it. You don't want to turn up with your bags the next week and then find out that you've actually just rented off Joe Bloggs in the pub.
The Pattaya 105 Property Show, sponsored by Compass Real Estate.
Welcome back to 105, just taking us up to 20 minutes to the hour of 6 o'clock. Lawrence and Harry in the studio today down at 105, trying to get through most of the emails, and we're sort of skipping through some, but we've got lots to ask. Not so much time to do it in today, Lawrence. It's gone fast, hasn't it?
Case.
Always the case. Never mind, we try and sort of keep everybody happy. Right, here's a question we've got. Developers in Thailand use escrow accounts. Is that true?
First of all, what is an escrow account?
Good question, I like it. That man, he could make a good presenter. What is an escrow account? Come on, Lawrence.
All right, well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people will be familiar with escrow accounts for dealing with things like property, in the West. I mean, it's basically a service where a third party will hold funds, the property, legal documents, until certain conditions on an escrow contract have been met. So, with regards to purchasing homes or condos, the escrow provider will be responsible for basically overseeing the payments for that condo.
So is that like a middleman bank account or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, it's basically a security to hold the money until certain conditions on the contract have been met.
As if one party or the other party hasn't got it and people feel safer that it's in a neutral territory?
Yeah, exactly. You're not handing over your money directly to the developer, the homeowner, etc. You're giving the money to a neutral third party who's going to ensure that all the conditions of the contract have been met before the money's then handed over to the seller. And obviously, this isn't just used for property; it can be used for other sort of reciprocal contracts. Well, this is, I suppose, what we're talking about here.
Is it a mandatory? Is it a law that says you have to do that?
It's not mandatory here in Thailand. And I mean, to answer the first question, it's not really a service that is used here in Thailand.
Okay.
It was sort of introduced in the 2008 Escrow Account Act, and I know the finance ministry has been kind of promoting the use of it and pushing developers to start using this, but it's not really something that's been taken up too much. But I think it is something that a lot of buyers would like to see, because as an agent, one of the many objections I get is the security. How do I know this project's going to be completed?
I think it would sort of help a lot of people who are buying or whatever. If they've got a neutral territory where their money was held, I think they would feel a little bit safer, and sort of the developer hasn't got it or he hasn't got it. And it's a neutral territory, so they're not biased, are they?
Yeah, exactly. For a buyer, it's kind of the ultimate peace of mind. The escrow provider will basically hold the money on your behalf until the developer, for example, has completed the project to a specific standard as outlined in the escrow contract.
Right.
It'll be at that point that the third party then actually hands over the money to the developer.
So would we say? I mean, Harry. I mean, I don't know. I'm new to this. What you're coming out with. So probably Harry's got a question the same as I have. I mean, do the people that hold the account, the escrow account, do these people are these the guys that make payments? Are they responsible for paying the payments out, or how does it happen?
When certain conditions are met.
Right.
So it's first of all, it's got to be established. There's a separate contract in addition to the contract you've probably signed with the developer, which is the escrow contract, and that's the one that's going to control when payments are made. So, if it could be, for example, if the developer completes this bit of construction by this date, they will get this payment. When the developer has fully completed construction and all these items have been installed in the unit, you have all these bits and pieces, then the developer will receive full payment.
So really, it's more between the developer and the third party, and not really the buyer. The buyer gets the security of knowing that it's being paid through the third party, but the actual processes involved is between the developer and the third party. Is that right?
Not really, no. I mean, it's between the buyer and the seller, ultimately. Or the two. Right. It doesn't have to be a buyer and seller. As I said, this doesn't have to just be used for property. It can be used for different contracts as well. But it's ultimately between the two parties, and then you have a third party in the middle who'll be the one who's responsible for ultimately holding the funds, the legal documents, or even the property, and then they'll be the one responsible for actually dispersing these once the conditions of the escrow contract.
We've just had a quick one in. It's just popped up on the screen. Roger says, "Is it true that CONDO are launching an escrow account?"
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of banks that provide the service. As I say, it's not one that's taken up too much at the moment. But
right.
Yeah, CONDO have recently launched a new escrow account service.
Right. Okay.
And I think the way this works as well is you'll actually pay a small fee to. Obviously, the third party isn't going to do this for free. There has to be something in it for them.
Well, they've got to charge something somewhere, surely.
So you'll pay about 0.3% interest, both the buyer and the seller, to have this service. Well, if that gives you the peace of mind to. It's more than worth it. Well, I think it's something that developers will start to take up more and more. I don't think there's quite the incentive there to do it at the moment.
I think. And probably with Harry here. Harry's sort of heard it sort of firsthand as well as I. I mean, I've sort of heard things before, and you've sort of shed a bit of light on it. But Harry, the same as me, you'd feel a little bit safer if you knew a third party was holding your money.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind paying them to do it either.
Well, there you go. I mean, like Lawrence says, they're going to charge a small percentage for doing so, but surely that's going to be a lot of peace of mind to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. Not just any. You can't just have any Joe Blogs being this third party. No. This is defined by law, this escrow service, and to be an escrow service provider, you actually have to have authorization from the Ministry of Finance.
So it makes it even safer.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I would feel safe with, wouldn't you, Harry? I mean, if you knew your money's going to be into safe hands, then definitely 100%, and I totally agree with that one. Now let's just have a quick word of because time is upon us again. But the Atlantis project. I mean, the last time you was in here, you'd sold about 800 odd condos. The units, whatever you want to say. I mean, how's it going so far?
Yeah, I think we're up to about 860 now.
So it's going up still.
So yeah, if you want one, you better get down there quick, because we haven't got many left.
Yeah, and of course we had Dev in here, which was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was great. We had the project coordinator.
And there's nothing like putting Dev on the spot. I was saying, Dev, you've done really well. Atlantis is fantastic. You've nearly sold out. Where's the plans for number 2? And he looked at me, gone out, going. Something I don't know, Dave.
Well, that's it. Instead of him putting me on the spot, I can put him on the spot for once.
No, it was really good to have in it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And it kicks off this year, yeah, building wise.
Yeah, we're going to start construction in April. So not too long at all. If you're buying a unit with us now, it's only going to be a couple of months before you actually see the hole going in the ground,
which is absolutely great. And of course, you can go down to Compass Real Estate, which is on the Circuit Road, or you can go down to your showroom, which is at John T M.
Yeah, that's right. You can visit us at our main office on the Suckenbert Road, in between Pattaya Klang and Pattaya Thai on the John Tien carriageway, or you can also pop down to the showroom, which is on the new John Tien Second Road, about 50 metres from the junction with Soy Wat Boon.
Okay, all right. We're going to come back with Lawrence and Harry for one more go, okay? We'll just sort of glance over the stuff that we spoke about today. We're going to tell people where they can get in contact with you, Harry, on Pattaya Condo, and also with you, Lawrence, from Compass Real Estate, okay? So stay with us, guys, in the studio, and more questions, more answers, and a little bit of information coming right after this.
One day, all this music could be yours. Oh, like today, for instance. This is Pattaya 105.
Welcome back, and thank you very much to everybody that's emailed us down at the studio. We've got to say a big thank you, haven't we, Lawrence, because it's nice for people to join in.
Yeah, it's great. We appreciate the support.
And Harry, you've got some emails to answer later on, so I would imagine that's going to be a little bit of homework for you.
Yeah, I'm always happy to help anybody who's got a problem or issue or...
Okay, that's what the doctor says, and that's what Harry says, so there we go. Right, okay, so... If I've got a property and I want to get it out there and I want to rent it or whatever, I want to get it out there, what's the best way?
What's the best way to list your property? Well, there's lots of different ways. Obviously, using agents is probably going to be your best point of call. Go and see some reputable agents such as ourselves, Compass, and there are many other reputable agents in town. They'll know how best to market your property, to target it, and obviously they'll have ongoing customers who are looking for properties. Other than that, if you want to be proactive, there's lots of things you can do yourself. Talking to people is a great way. Yep. Also, you can list them on classified boards, etc. But your most effective way is going to be to use an agent who has those customers on the ground, who knows how best to advertise your property. You might think taking a few simple pictures is easy, but the agent has the experience to sell your property, and that's what they're there for.
Okay, and of course you can go to somebody like Harry as well, who can stick it on Pattaya Condo.
We don't just list agents. Individuals can log in and they can sign up to list their condo as well if they're trying to get rid of it.
Okay, lovely.
So there's another way.
I like that. Okay, right. Quick fire question: can a foreigner own a condominium in Pattaya?
Yeah, they can. They can own a condominium 100% in their name, freehold. The law in Thailand states that foreigners can only own up to 49% of the usable space in a condominium. But of that 49%, you can have your condominium, your one condominium, 100% in your name. And you also have the option to purchase through a Thai company, or you could also have a Thai national purchase a property for you, and you could then lease the property.
And of course, what we've got to say is, you guys are at the end of your websites, and you're there for any questions. And of course, people can file these, and we can try and answer them for you. Yeah. So the answer, in short, is yes.
Is yes. Yes.
So there we go.
You want to buy a property, a condo here in your name, 100%. Yes, you can do.
Okay, agree with that one, Harry?
Yep, certainly.
Okay, and the last one before we have to sort of sum up today, guys, because the time has gone fast and it's been great, is the one that we keep getting quite a lot from a lot of the listeners, and of course from the emails, is the land. Can a foreigner own land, Lawrence? We keep getting this.
Yeah, we keep getting this. This is where it gets a bit more complicated, I suppose. Simple answer, no, you cannot own land in Thailand. Right. However, you can acquire land through a Thai company. So a Thai company can purchase the land on your behalf. You can then be the sole director of that company to control the company.
And we did also speak about that you could lease it, couldn't you? That was another thing.
That's the other option for you. You can have a nominated Thai individual purchase the land for you, and you can then lease that land from them on a 30-year by 30-year renewable lease.
Lovely. Okay, Harry, we're going to shoot straight back to you because time is drawing upon us. Now, just to recap from Pattaya Condo Guide, just to recap on it, the services that you provide are...
Well, we connect people looking for condos to rent or for sale in Pattaya to a big list of agents all in one place. Cut out all
so yours is the one-stop shop.
Yeah, the one-stop shop.
And for people out there that want to get in contact with you, Harry, what is the website?
The website is pattayacondoguide.com. If you're in France, then you use the fr.pattayacondoguide.com, etc. If you're in Pattaya, you can pick up a magazine at most top hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, or from Silver Mover office itself.
And that is the one that says Pattaya Condo Guide, yeah?
Yeah, that's
And that's the one with the multicoloured, dots on it, yeah?
Yeah.
So don't mix it up with anyone else. Okay, Harry, it's been great to have you on the show.
It's been great to be here, Dave.
You're most welcome, and I'm sure we'll have you here again. And also, we want to get you down here when you launch your houses, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to come.
Because that'll be good. It's nice to sort of get you on board and find out what's happening in Pattaya. And, of course, we've got people that send us emails and say, where can I get a house for 10,000 baht? And I haven't got the answer, so it's down to you guys.
Well, they can send me an email. My email is Lawrence, that's LAWRENCE at compasspattaya.com.
Okay, it's as simple as that. Guys, thank you very much for coming in the studio. Thank you very much for being on the Property Show today. It's been a pleasure having you both in here. And I'm sure, Harry, you'll be here again with your houses. And Lawrence, I'll see you next Friday.
See you next week, Dave.
Say bye, guys.
Cheers then.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.